Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Friday night edition of the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I hope you're having a brilliant day. I'm doing pretty good myself. It's been hella busy around here, around the portal cave. It doesn't feel like a house, it feels like a cave right now. But yeah, I had a good day, so I hope you guys are all ready. We've got the weekend is upon you. You've earned your place. You've taken them on the chin all week long, and now you get to unwind and relax. And I'm absolutely honored that you chose to unwind and relax right here with me. So thank you all, and thanks to the Freaky Friday crew. I really appreciate it, guys. Great to be following you as always. Great to listen to you as I'm getting ready for my own show. So sometimes I find myself paying less attention to getting ready for my own show and more attention to what they're talking about. But it's a brilliant show. So, what can you do? It's a lot of fun, but everything looks like it's underway. Good to go. Lots of people in the TFR chat. We got Wookie in there, Paradoxical Anomaly, Andrea, North New Zealand, or NZ, Pogo, Polynation, Jeff Vians, Matthias, Dawns to you too, Don Quixote, Bill is in there, Bam, and Ken is in there. Good to see you guys. And I got a bunch filling up into the YouTube as well. You guys are there. You guys are great. Barry's in here, Betty is in here, Black Tree is in here, Brandon Becker, Brown Dwarf, Cameron, Cha-Cha, D, L, I Am Pam, Just a Guy, Lisa, MCat, Renee, and Ken's in there too. Ken's all over the place. Ken's taking over, I think. So, but I hope you guys are doing great. If I didn't see your name, I apologize. Pookster just came in. Good to see you, Pookster. Thanks for coming. But there'll be more. There's always more piling in. It usually takes a good 10, 15 minutes for the YouTube crowd to all get in, or at least most of them. But I don't know if that's because the notifications aren't working as they should, or if there's just other things going on. But in any case, it's it's time to rock and roll here on the portal. So right off the bat, I really enjoy getting emails from listeners. That to me is just about my favorite part of the show. That and the call-ins for me are really exciting, because I love hearing what you guys see, feel, experience, etc. in terms of the paranormal and what you've been through. And everybody explains it their own way, so always some new detail gets thrown in that nobody else may have observed or observed differently, and it can shed a lot of light on the phenomena. But I got a couple of emails to go through tonight, and I'd like to start out the show with them, because that's just how I roll here. So I'm going to blow this up so I can see much more clearly. Oh, hold on. Okay. No, that wasn't it. There we go. All right. So, this is submitted by a listener, by the name of Alexis, and she's, it was something written by Tiffany Lee, from Gardner, Kansas. And it says, in 2012, I went to visit my sister who lived in the Netherlands at the time, and I'd never been out of the country, so it was a wonderful adventure for me. And we visited Amsterdam, a castle, a basilica, even Bruges, Belgium, but it was at the, how is it pronounced again? It was Kinderdijk. I got to look above. She actually gave me the phonetic explanation for it, which I really appreciate. But it was at the Kinderdijk where I had my ghostly encounter. Kinderdijk is a beautiful area. There are 19 windmills from the 18th century placed strategically along the canal. The windmills were built in and around 1740, and there are also 3 pumping stations, dikes, and reservoirs. The main purpose of the mills was to keep low-lying lands dry. There are foot and bike paths along the area and the main visitor center, and the museum is a preserved working windmill. I felt like I literally stepped back in time here. Up close to the windmill, I was struck by how big the structure was. The loud whooshing of the blades as they turned quickly filled my ears. It was really loud. Upon entering the mill museum, I was surprised to see a little living area all set up. There was a hearth, stove, kitchen, sitting area, ironing board, and a creepy mannequin of a child with blonde hair. My nephew, who was with us, said, "This is creepy. I'm getting out of here." I agreed the doll was creepy and laughed as well. I didn't realize that people live in the mills. Or had lived in the mills. I explored the room, and around the corner was a steep wooden steps overlooking the working parts of the vertical access system. In the center of the mill, wheels were connected to each of other to turn around the main component. The spinning machine parts made me a little dizzy. As I walked to the second floor, I saw a lady in a blue dress outlined in front of the window, and she looked like she was in 18th century clothing with some sort of kerchief on her head. And in my mind, I said, "No, I didn't just see that." I walked up to the third flight of stairs to get to the third floor and looked around briefly, but curiosity got the better of me, and I walked back down to the second floor. And there she was, silhouetted in the window, a lady in a blue dress and a white cap on her head. As I looked at the lady, she crossed her arms and just looked right back at me. She didn't seem angry or scared, simply had an air of no nonsense about her, and it was as if she was keeping watch over her house. She was making sure her home was being respected. She was allowing people to visit her home, and she was protective and overseeing thing. I put my camera to my eyes to take a picture, and the lady shook her head, no. I motioned to the lady that I was leaving, and she nodded yes at me. I got the heck out of there, and I don't think my feet touched one step. Well, I motioned to the lady that I was... Oh, no, I read that line already. My sister, who had also visited the mill, told me that she felt sick on that second floor. I told her there was a ghost up there, that's why. My sister did not see the ghost, but I know sometimes people do feel sick around them. I don't understand the world of ghosts, and somehow the lady had been allowed to stay and watch over her home. The last thing I expected was to see a ghost on my trip, but what a great story I have to tell people now. My own personal ghost story, and thanks for reading it. That's really cool. And thank you, Tiffany, for submitting that. That was awesome. I do believe many places have just resident ghosts, and they're not harmful, they're not aggressive, they're not doing anything, but it's still their home for some reason or another, and why they remain, I don't know, but there must be some strong emotional attachment, I guess. But very cool story. I really thought that was amazing. All right, now let's see, this is the next one. This one is from Woke in Southern California. It says, "Hi Brent, hope this email finds you well. I just want to share one of many of the paranormal events I experienced living in my parents' home when I was younger. This took place in West Covina, California. We had just recently moved into a nice big home my parents had bought, and soon after something was a bit off when I noticed that my son would not venture into one particular side of the house. He would stand at the edge of the hallway and peer down the hall, and appeared to be a bit scared. We all noticed this, but didn't think too much of it at first. Soon after, my mom began to tell us about the feeling that someone or something was in the house with her when we were all away. One mid-afternoon during her nap, she was awakened by something coming into her room, sitting at the foot of her bed, and another time while washing the dishes. I heard her speaking softly in a caring manner to what she believed was a young male presence, asking it to leave her alone. And when I asked her who she was talking to, she said that a young male would whisper to her things like, "Hey," and "Mom." She told me that she would speak to it, letting it know that she was in fact not his mother. She compared it to the same feeling as when my older brother or I was in the room with her. I myself began to feel uneasy when I would wake up to use the restroom in the middle of the night. Walking down the halls to the dark felt like someone was watching you and following behind you every step of the whole way. This is the best way I can describe the feeling. Well, fast forward and skipping past a few other experiences there. This one particular night, it was just myself and my mom at home. I was in the living room while my mom was in the opposite end of the house watching television. And all of a sudden, I heard the crashing of a bunch of dishes and pans, and my immediate reaction was to get up off the couch and check to see if my mom was okay. I figured she was probably in the kitchen cleaning and she had an accident. Well, as soon as I began to walk towards the kitchen, I noticed my mom walking towards the kitchen as well from the opposite end of the house. She had a look of confusion on her face from what I noticed. And I say this because I myself was confused, and we both got to the kitchen at the same time and noticed that all the clean dishes which rest inside the sink were tossed all over the kitchen floor. One of the pans had a huge bending dent on one side, as if it were banged against the floor by the handle, and another large pan was spinning very, very fast like a top. Well, we both stared at it, wondering when it was going to quit spinning, but it didn't. After a few seconds, I put my foot on it to stop it from whirling in circles uncontrollably. While picking up all the dishes and pans, we talked about how exactly this could have happened. We both couldn't come up with any logical explanation for it. This was about the first time I actually realized that something was trying to get our attention in that house. Shortly after, she had held a rosary prayer at our house, as well as a blessing every room with holy water, and that seemed to work, because the house immediately felt a lot less heavy. That sense of someone or something watching you or trying to get your attention was gone. This is the only one of many examples of odd experiences we felt in that house. Others give me the chills to this very day because I can't explain them. I will share others later because I don't want to take up too much of your time that I already have. All my best, David. Thank you, brother. I appreciate those stories, or that amazing story. Yeah, that's incredible. And you got to think about the kind of energy that it would have taken to throw all those dishes, and even to keep that pan spinning and spinning. There must have been, it kind of reminds me of, was there like a residual charge built up that was still being consumed by that pan spinning, and that's why it didn't stop. I mean, my little boy, when he was really young, would play with pans on the floor, and he could spin them, but they wouldn't keep spinning. So you think about how come that one was still spinning. And to me, it was like, whatever energy is used by these spirits to do that kind of stuff, it must have, an effect that may take a bit to completely dissipate. I don't know, like it may charge the object with that kinetic energy and it has to wear off. It's just very interesting. That's what I'm talking about with stories like this. There's some nugget that I hadn't really heard before. Very wild, very wild. But yeah, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you guys sending in your stories. And again, if any of you have stories of your own that you'd love to submit to the show and have read, please feel free to do so. The email for the show is paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. And I'd be absolutely thrilled to read your stories as well. So it's truly about my favorite part of the show. All right, let me do that again. I hit the wrong button. All right, so those are the listener emails, ladies and gentlemen. And the phone lines are open tonight if you guys want to take part in tonight's show, or you got something of your own that has happened that you'd love to share. I would love to hear about it. Please call in, but the call-in number for the portal is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. And that'll get you right through to me. And hopefully I'll notice it and get to you in in some kind of reasonable amount of time. But yeah, I love the actual experiences you guys have had. Excellent stuff. All right, now first off tonight, now that we're done with the listener emails, I don't know, a few weeks ago or a month ago or so, I found this information and I shared it on the show about a scientist that was doing some really in-depth studies over in Loch Ness to try to determine what is the situation with the Loch Ness Monster. Is it a real thing? Is there any kind of evidence scientifically that they could find? And the technique that, as I understand it, that this scientist used in his study of the loch was they took thousands and thousands of samples of Loch Ness in different areas of the loch, and they did apparently run some genetic testing. And he did say a while ago there are a lot of the ideas he believes are out the window. And I imagine that means of, the traditional ideas that it's some kind of dinosaur that survived somehow and living in the loch. But he did say there is one pretty amazing possibility that he thinks will really surprise people. But he said he wasn't going to release it for a long time. So it's been, we've all been kind of sitting there watching and waiting. When's that information going to come out? He did say it would come out in September, and allegedly it has. And I'm going to read you an article that was a friend of mine who is named Tony Merkel, operates the Confessionals podcast. He has a website. It's called the confessionalspodcast.com. And they did an article about it, and I want to share that with you guys now about what they found. And I'm not going to unveil it until we actually unveil it in the article here. So it says, after months of waiting and guessing, the results of a new scientific study of Loch Ness have been revealed. Over the summer, Loch Ness researchers teased that their DNA study of the famous Scottish lake pointed to one specific theory about the identity of the Loch Ness monster actually being correct. According to their study, other popular theories, including the speculation that Nessie could be a plesiosaur, a large catfish, a shark, or a sturgeon, have all been ruled out. Instead, slithering to the top of the plausible theory pile is the giant eel. After cataloging all living species in the loch by extracting DNA from water samples, the team of scientists have put forward the giant eel as the true identity of the legendary water monster. Could the Loch Ness monster mystery really be solved after all these years? Check out the revelatory. That's a big word. Revelatory study and story below, as published by BBC News. And what this says is the creatures behind the reported sighting of the Loch Ness monster may be giant eels, according to scientists. Researchers from New Zealand have tried to catalog all living species in the loch by extracting DNA from water samples. Following analysis, the scientists have ruled out the presence of large animals said to be behind the reports of a monster. No evidence of a prehistoric marine reptile called a plesiosaur or a large fish such as a sturgeon were found. Catfish and suggestions that a wandering Greenland shark were behind the sightings were also discounted. The aim of the research was not to find Nessie, but to improve knowledge of what plants and animals actually live in Loch Ness. European eels are among the creatures in the loch, and whose DNA was picked up by the new research. Juvenile eels, known as elvers, arrive in Scottish rivers and lochs after migrating more than 3,100 miles from the Sargasso Sea near the Bahamas, where the animals spawn and lay eggs. Professor Neil Gemmell, a geneticist from New Zealand's University of Otago, said, "People love a mystery, and we've used science to add another chapter to the Loch Ness mystique. We can't find any evidence of a creature that's remotely related to that in our environmental DNA sequence data, so sorry. I don't think the plesiosaur idea holds up based on the data that we have obtained." He added, so there's no shark DNA in Loch Ness based on our sampling, and there's also no catfish DNA in Loch Ness based on our sampling. We can't find any evidence of sturgeon either. There's a very significant amount of eel DNA. Eels are very plentiful in Loch Ness, and eel DNA was found at pretty much every location sampled, and there are a lot of them. And so are they giant eels? Well, our data doesn't reveal the size, but the sheer quantity of the material says that we can't discount the possibility that there may be giant eels in Loch Ness. Therefore, we can't discount the possibility of what people see and believe is the Loch Ness monster might be a giant eel. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently, according to this study, now I know nothing is absolute, but it does seem to suggest that there aren't big plesiosaurs in Loch Ness. But when you look at the sightings in Loch Ness and the reports, a lot of time people are reporting these undulating weird waves that come up like humps. Well, that certainly could be the result of eels or one large eel that could perhaps do that. Now, the famous picture of that looks like it has kind of the, looks like a finger almost poking out of the water in shadow. I don't know how that plays into the eel theory, but then again, that's one still frame in black and white from an awful long time ago, and it could have just been a waterlogged log. And believe me, I love the idea of there being a Loch Ness monster. I really do. I think that idea is intriguing as hell, and the idea that it's not there is disappointing as hell. I mean, I love the idea that there's mystery and magic and intrigue left in the world, but I guess you just can't remove the fact that the study was done. You can't ignore it, and so it would seem to suggest that those things are not the cause, in that it's probably something more mundane, and that's okay. I mean, it could be one hell of a big eel. I don't know. There could be something of legendary size lurking in those depths, and that's still pretty spectacular. It's a little creepier, I think. Not that a big dinosaur in the water isn't a little creepy as well, but something about eels, they just, I don't know, they don't seem as a romantic an idea, I guess. In the gist of it. But I thought that was really cool, and thank you, Tony, for letting me share that article on the show. I think that's pretty incredible, and nice job, by the way, on it. Whether you or Lindsay did it, I don't know, but it's well done. So, anyway, that's our start of the show. What do we got now? We got 4 minutes before the break, so we're going to be cruising into a bunch more stuff after the break. I want to talk about some other cryptids and things that were reported. We're going to go into some encounters with what people say are mythological creatures. Now, that can just be cryptids as well. The title of this sounds a little more far-fetched. I don't think there's Pegasus and stuff like that, or unicorns necessarily in our list tonight, but just some ideas of creatures out there that are considered the realm of fantasy by many people, although they seem to come up an awful lot in the paranormal. But I would like to take a moment and ask you all to please, if you haven't already, check out our podcast. It's out there on all the podcast platforms, except not Stitcher, apparently. Apparently it's not on Stitcher, and I don't know why, but we seem to be everywhere else. But the Paranormal is a podcast as well. And we've taken a lot of pride in producing a whole new type of Paranormal Portal. That's audio only, so it doesn't have the visual elements, but it's just been a blast to do, and we've gotten such a warm and wonderful welcome from people that have found the podcast, whether through hearing about it from someone else, or they've heard about it from online, or they just stumbled on it. But it's just been taken off really well, and I want to thank all of you who already are supporting that podcast and downloading and subscribing. But if you enjoy the podcast, one thing I would like to ask is that if you like it, I'm not asking for people to, say something they don't mean, but if you do like it, go over to iTunes and write a review about the podcast, because that certainly helps to get it promoted more widely on the iTunes network. But we're on iTunes, iHeart, Pandora, Spotify. There's so many places that it is available. So I would love for you guys to check it out. And they are largely brand new episodes. There's sometimes we've taken episodes from our YouTube catalog and put over there because they're what we felt were really strong and great episodes. But the podcasts are generally all brand new and haven't been heard before. That's my beverage. So it's been a labor of love to add another branch of the Paranormal Portal out there. But we're hoping to see it grow and grow and grow. So hopefully that'll happen. What else do we got? 1 minute. What else was I going to say? Oh, I had something on the tip of my tongue and I lost it. But when we come back, we'll talk about more of these creatures. We're going to talk about more glitches in the Matrix. We're going to talk about some other oddities and stuff in the paranormal, and some Sasquatch stories. I don't know what we're going to get to, but again, ladies and gentlemen, the phone lines are open. So if you want to call in and be a part of tonight's show, 720-923-0500. 720-923-0500. If you're watching on YouTube, the show is streaming live on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that are listening on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, or TalkStream Live, and you can see that by going to youtube.com/paranormal portal. And I'm gonna have to check. I heard something about TFR Live on YouTube from Kev at the close of the Freaky Friday, so I'm gonna have to look. But we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Break number 1 upon us, and more Portal right around the corner. Don't go away. Welcome back. Sorry. I got fun buttons to push on this mixing board. It's always cool. Hope you had a good break, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're well broken now and ready for more of the Paranormal Portal, which is coming right now. Remember, after the show, to stick around if you're listening on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, or TalkStream Live for Paisley Wild. We'll be coming up with The Spaces Between. That'll be up next on the TFR lineup, so don't miss that. She also usually streams live on her YouTube channel as well, so you can check that out. I did check out TFR Live, and it doesn't look like there's any streaming going on right now on TFR Live on YouTube, but I'm sure there will be eventually. Anyway, so welcome back. Let's see. I got some stuff to share with you. Sorry, I took a drink of my cola, and it just hit me in a big bubble. So anyway, I got better. First off, I want to talk to you about some more cryptid kind of stuff, and these are just general little snippets of people running into what they call mythological creatures. But are they? I don't know. Or are they just creatures undiscovered? That's the curiosity right there, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see. Oh, by the way, I did talk with a gentleman that I had met. His name is Stephen Majors, and he is the founding force behind Extreme Expeditions, and he will be coming on the show next Saturday. They do a lot of Sasquatch hunting and documentaries, and their recent one, and I want to make sure I quote this right. It's a really cool title. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to actually watch it tonight after I get done here on the show. But let me just make sure I got it right before I speak out of turn. But they've got a movie out on Netflix right now, and he's really a great guy. I met him at the Bigfoot Roundup in Spokane this last weekend, a week ago, with Don, when Don and I were there, and he was just a great guy. They did a great job on that convention, and Adam Davies was there and spoke, and he's said that he would be happy to be on the show too. So that'll be another great guest to have on. But the film that they put out, Extreme Expeditions put out, was called In Search of the Port Chatham Hairy Man. And it's up. Port Chatham is up in Alaska, and they went up there and did that. So if you have Amazon Prime, go check it out. It's called The Search of the Port Chatham, CHATHAM Hairy Man. And they did just a brilliant job at it. It's beautiful. They showed a little bit of the footage of it at this expedition, at the convention this last week, and it's just beautifully shot. And so definitely check it out. But Stephen will be on the show next Saturday night. Next Friday night, we are joined by the one and only Deborah Varner, who will be here doing live readings. So a week from tonight, she'll be doing free psychic readings live on the show. So make sure to call in early and hold the line, because her shows are just a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun for me because I just have to be a receptionist for the most part. It's pretty easy night for me, but she's doing great things, and so that'll be next Friday and Saturday nights. Those are those two shows. So definitely tune in and check those out. All right, so back to the list. The first one that people have said that they've seen, and there's actually some footage on YouTube of this, and this comes out of Iceland, and it's not a new thing. If you haven't seen it, look up on YouTube, Icelandic monster spotted in Iceland Lake. Now, it's a really curious piece of footage because it does seem to show something just under the surface of the water, and there's ice on the little crunchy ice on the top of the water, but it's all broken. And you'll see this thing undulating in the ocean, in the current, or in the water, and it does appear to be swimming. Now, it sounds pretty wild, but once you see the footage, it definitely is a head scratcher. It allegedly is absolutely huge. I can't tell from the scale of the video, and unfortunately, I can't show it on our show. A, because TFR is audio, but B, because I don't have permission to show the video and I don't need copyright strikes on the YouTube stream. But it's plenty easy to find out. Just go look on YouTube for Icelandic monster spotted in Iceland Lake. But let me read the little snippet about it here. It says, there's many people talking about the belief in elves in Iceland, where concerns over habitats of these invisible people might have affected highway construction, but elves aren't the only mythological creature enjoying recognition in the country. Lake Lager, oh man, Iceland names. There's a lake in Iceland, eastern Iceland, that is home to a legendary sea serpent or worm monster that has been the subject of folktales since the 14th century. In 2012, a YouTube video of mysterious shape moving in a strange manner beneath the ice became an internet sensation, with many believing it was definitive proof of the ancient creature. Finnish researcher Misa McKeown disagreed, analyzing the video and using screen captures to prove that the apparently moving body was actually a stationary in the water and was probably nothing more than an icy fishing net or piece of cloth. The local government, however, formed a truth commission to determine whether the footage was real and if the maker of the video was entitled to a payout, which the council had offered if proof of the beast. And 7 out of 13 members of the panel ruled that the footage was real. And this was surely the result of sober-minded consideration of the facts and nothing to do with local tourism. Yeah, it's hard to know. It is an interesting video, though, I will say that. And I have heard the idea that it was just rope underwater that had got some ice on it and was undulating in an eel-like fashion in the water. But it's very interesting, nonetheless. So is there really a giant worm in the waters there? I don't know. Is that footage of it? I don't know. I guess if my opinion of it is it's most probably something that's stuck underwater and there's a current and it's waving around. But it's kind of fun to think of otherwise anyway. The next one deals with the mermaids. Locals and tourists alike in the Israeli town of Kiryat Yam have reported sightings of a mermaid, which eyewitnesses report resembles a mixture of a young girl and a dolphin. Once sighted, the creature performs acrobatic tricks for stunned onlookers before disappearing beneath the waves. The town has encouraged the stories, which have been good for the local tourist economy, and the local council has even offered a cash prize of $1 million for anyone who gets photographic evidence of the aquatic humanoid. In 2010, an NBC investigative team spent a week filming along the beaches of Kiryat Yam. The crew claimed that they spotted the mermaid at night, but were unable to track it after it dove out of sight. Hoax videos of the supposed mermaid have gone viral several times over the years. One of the most notorious showed her basking on a rock, but it turned out to be a faked scene made for an Animal Planet mockumentary. So, I will say that cryptids are good for tourism. There's no question about it. In fact, I'm from Minnesota, and a town near where I grew up in Minnesota was called Lake City. And the widest point of the Mississippi River is up in Minnesota, between Minnesota and Wisconsin, on the southern part of the state, and it's called Lake Pepin. And it's just really a widening of the Mississippi River into this big basin, which then again empties out down south by a town called Winona and La Crosse. But there was an old legend of some basically a sea monster type of being in this lake as well. Now, I grew up in this lake. I mean, I lived by it literally for the majority of my life. I never saw anything on the lake or in the waters. I swam in that water all the time, water skied, boated. Never saw anything anomalous like that ever. I mean, I really didn't. It's not, and to be honest with you, growing up there, I never even heard about it until I was well into my adulthood. So all my life, I'd never heard anybody ever mention this supposed sea monster that lives in the Lake Pepin of the Mississippi River. So I didn't have any basis for looking for it, but whatever. So I had heard people had seen things out in the water once in a while. One of which was even a family friend's, where she saw something out in the water from her house, which is up on a hillside overlooking the water, and she saw something out there that she claims was huge, and it's like nothing she ever saw before. But is that possibly true? Yeah, I guess maybe. However, this legend kind of resurfaced when somebody claimed to have had a sighting. Then all of a sudden the hype came, and the local town of Lake City offered. It was the mayor of the town offered $1 million for anybody that finds definitive proof of this creature, which they call Peppy, based off of the name Pepin, Lake Pepin, not Loch Pepin, but Lake Pepin. So they call it Peppy. And of course, the part that a lot of people don't know is that the mayor is actually the owner of a large hotel in town too. And so, any increase in tourism, of course, is going to really line his pockets pretty well. And I think that honestly, nobody's really that interested in finding a monster in the lake. They're just interested. Well, I mean, there's people coming in looking for it for sure, but for the most part, the locals are just cashing in on the idea that people come to look for the monster. It is good for tourism in most cases. Sometimes the paranormal is really beneficial to the the people around it who figure out how to cash in on the phenomena. But I got a call here, so let's get to our call and find out what's going on. And this is area code 807. You're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes.
Hello, who is this?
That's me again.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Who is it?
It's me again.
You again?
Barry.
Oh, Barry. How you doing, Barry?
Yeah.
How's things up in the north?
Not too bad.
Not too bad. What's going on today?
Yeah. Just chilling out there. Oh, you know what? That term called what's that term called the Wendigo?
The Wendigo, yeah.
I think there are two types. The one Duke encountered, and the one the folks here talk about it. Well, rarely talk about it.
Right. So there's the one type that's more like a Bigfoot kind of thing, and
there's a type.
The other type is more like the possessing spirit type.
Yeah.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me, I guess. But it is funny that there's so many explanations or ideas about what the Wendigo is. I really appreciate that you sent me all that information, though. That was really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, there's a bit more there, isn't it?
I'm sorry, what?
When I that is a bit more.
Okay.
That I didn't mention.
Okay.
Well, when a man grows gaunt and disoriented, and I start a little to what's that term called? A little to on an insane side. When the person goes when the person gets what's that term called? I can't remember. I can't say the top of my tongue. Anyways, when a person goes insane,
okay,
he starts to lose all sense together. Even goes about naked.
Did you say naked?
That was That after he bits off his no, that was before he bits off
his lips,
fingertips.
Yep, and his lips.
And
yeah, that's really creepy.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a great hunger that accompanies it, though, like this insatiable appetite that just can't be filled.
Yeah.
Ugh. What a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what do you think? Are they real? Are they real?
It's possible, but I think they'll make a appearance if there's a war and conflict when
Oh,
food
okay.
becomes scarce.
So if there's a war and some kind of famine, then they'll start reappearing again,
Yeah,
huh?
probably a new batch along with the old batch.
Hmm. That's a creepy idea.
Yeah,
That's really creepy.
yeah, yeah. Oh, we're going to under the earth.
Under what?
Remember I mentioned about. Remember when I mentioned that there are other entities that will come out of the earth?
Yes, other entities will come out of the earth. Yeah.
Yeah, those are more dangerous than the regular Bigfoot,
Oh, geez, that's scary.
and just as meaner than a
Uh,
dogman.
hey. So what kind of
Yeah,
entities are we talking about? I mean, when you're talking about that, other entities will come out of the earth. They're meaner than the Bigfoot. They're and dogmen, and so they're much more aggressive. But what are there names for them?
I don't know. I do know they will come out eventually,
Hmm.
or they're starting to come out.
Is that like an end times kind of prophecy thing, or is that like kind of like Armageddon type of thing?
I think it ties into the end times thing.
Hmm. Well, that's absolutely
Pretty,
terrifying.
yeah, pretty soon they'll start attacking the people.
Start attacking the people.
It,
Yeah.
yeah, and eating them. It
Ugh.
won't be just the GMO type cryptids
GMO.
and and Bigfoot. Won't be those days. Just those days. There'll be others.
Hmm.
So basically, it's going to be a terrifying time.
Wow. That'll be a
Yeah.
very, very, very scary time. Now, in that material you sent me, the person whoever wrote it, said that basically there's almost no defense against a Wendigo except for either a priest or a medicine man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, they can't be harmed by anyone except some holy figure.
Yeah, I think it's probably due to the way they look different. You know how humans are built.
How
We
humans are.
tend to shut down when we see something horrible.
Hmm. Wow. That's absolutely terrifying. Eesh. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, yeah. I also heard that the Wendigo type monster can wipe out a town.
That's,
From
yeah.
what I heard.
Yeah, I imagine. Now, do they spread? Is it, or are they just like lawnmowers? They just go in and wipe out everything, or do other people become Wendigo too, according to the legend?
I don't know about it. I
Okay,
can't remember much, but
okay.
from what I can tell, I was told that well, by my father that I had to read my Bible, so I won't die in my sleep. Yeah, a little dark humor there
Wow.
regarding that during the winter time.
Jeez.
Oh, they come during the just like the woolly Sasquatch.
They come to the what? Just like Woody Sasquatches?
They come with the blizzard at times, like
Oh,
that woolly Sasquatch.
oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, that's horrible, horrible thing. It's horrible to think that things like that could be out there.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know which is worse, the Sasquatch or the other fellow.
I don't know either. I think a spirit is almost more terrifying because nothing,
Yeah.
if it's physical, you can fight it, but something like that, I don't know. That's a whole different kind of animal. But I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeesh. Well, thank you, brother, for calling
Yeah.
in. It's always great to hear from you, man.
Anytime.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, Barry. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
All right, good night. All right. Wow. That's all about the Wendigo. And Barry's been sending me information about the Wendigo from, he's up in the very north of Canada, and it's really a terrifying phenomena. Very, 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 very. If those things are real, there's just all kinds broken. Now, as he was saying, they are described two very different ways. One is they are a physical being, like much like a Bigfoot, but not very similar, other than the fact that they're a large, hairy being. Some people describe them as having like antlers on their heads and claws and large teeth, and just really ferocious looking things, like a dog man on crack or something. But the other type of explanation for a Wendigo is that it is a possessing spirit, a demon god of some kind, is how a lot of the old lore describes it. And they usually come, as he was saying, during times of war or famine. When people are hungry, then it apparently somehow summons these things out. It'll possess somebody, and you can identify the person who's possessed because apparently they have a drive of hunger, an insatiable drive for hunger. And oftentimes they'll chew off their own lips and their fingertips, and they'll just be gnawing on anything they can because it's just this uncontrollable hunger. Now, a long time ago, not real long ago, like maybe a decade or so, there was allegedly, and this was something that I caught on one of the paranormal shows on television, but apparently there was a run-in. I think it was Monsters and Mysteries in America was the name of the show, but apparently there was a run-in on a bus. A guy on the bus, he was a native guy, was sitting on the bus and started just being twitchy and weird and weirder and weirder. And suddenly he just, there was another guy sitting in a seat near him. He just apparently just flipped, jumped on the guy, was tearing at him and chewing on him, and eventually killed the guy, while the people in the bus were just absolutely terrified and ran off. They got outside, and the bus driver kind of locked this guy in the bus. The other guy was dead, and they know he was dead because he was parading around with the head of this gentleman. And that's just a horrible, terrible, tragic kind of thing. But it's like the most aggressive of psychoses, and it's just ferocity and terror, I guess. I don't know how else to say it. But apparently, I don't know if he was shot and killed by the police or not, but I don't recall how it ended. But it was just a horrible story. But that would be an example of the possessing spirit. Apparently, he hadn't chewed off his own fingertips yet, but he was just. People believe he was possessed by the spirit of the Wendigo, and what a horrible thing to be. That's just terrible. Yeesh. So a little bit of trivia. Barry's got a strong accent, so I'm getting better at understanding Barry. He's just, he sounds, he's a great guy. He's been nothing but amazing and sending information and stuff. But it does take a few seconds to get used to the way he talks. But once you get used to it, man, he's just got stories and information. So very cool. And thank you, Barry, for calling in. That was wonderful. All right, back to the stories at hand. Let me look at the clock and see where we're at. We're at the 2-minute mark. I think I can get through this next one real quick. It's talking about dragons over China. It says 2 students at the Jilin University in China were walking out of a library in August 2014 when one of them suddenly spotted something. The other student quickly captured the strange phenomenon on a cell phone camera, later describing it as a 10-meter or 33-foot long red flying creature with 4 legs and a tail, and it was already flying, or allegedly flying, at a high altitude and radiated a low metallic light that increased in intensity before it vanished into the southeast. Over the past, Chinese dragons have reportedly turned up on news broadcasts, security camera footage, and even as far away as a Buddhist temple in Penang, Malaysia in 2004. An amateur photographer on the way to attend the opening ceremony of the Qinghai and Xinjiang Railroad in Tibet's Arnado region, or Amdo region, captured images from an airplane window of 2 long-scaled creatures flying above the Himalayas. So it's that traditional Chinese dragon is the ones that are depicted without wings. They're more like a serpent with a ferocious head, and that's what people are allegedly seeing. Now, how are they flying? I don't know. They aren't using traditional aerodynamics like birds and other fauna use. So apparently there's something else at work there if they are indeed real. And I don't know. I mean, these legends are based on something, ladies and gentlemen. Somewhere this stuff was born, whether it was through observations or whether it was just through ideas, I don't know. But it kind of lends credibility to the fact that maybe there is a phenomena where these things appear. I don't know, just food for thought, ladies and gentlemen, but we're going to take our hour break and we'll be right back with more of the Paranormal Portal. Be right back. Wait for me here.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. I am finished with my silence. I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness. Just you dance upon my joy. Feeding me with empty promise. You're just another fucking mess. Take another slice of my sanity. Just make sure that you're well fed. I'm not wrong yet. I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken
I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Caroline is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Just like the portal can go on for years and years and years. I'm telling you, it's like the Energizer Bunny of the paranormal. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are into hour number 2 now. You get one more hour of fun-filled paranormal entertainment, absolutely free of charge, because you were here for the first one. And for those of you just coming in, you can send your PayPal donation. That's fine. Oh, God, I get just a kick out of myself. I swear to God, I do. So welcome, guys. This is our journey tonight. It's been good so far, I think. I hope it's been good. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I enjoy doing it, as always, but we'll keep the ball rolling here and continue. Yes, Papa Brent. Ooh. Hey. I'm a little bit elder, but I don't know if I'm that much elder. I don't know how old anybody is, but, I'm a papa, that's for sure. So welcome back, everybody. Just looking at the chats here, and we've got quite a few people here listening to us, so that's a wonderful thing. And thank you all for being here and spending your Friday night here with us on the portal. Down payment. I can use $1 million too, Brown Dwarf. What's the deal? If somebody's shelling out cash, keep me posted. All right, so... All right, thanks, Barry. I appreciate that. All right, let's continue our journey. We're talking about some mythological beings and creatures and stuff that people are apparently running into. The next one is in Zimbabwe. Apparently, they got a goblin crisis going on there. I don't know what the deal is with this, but I got to tell you, I saw it on a few different references as I was searching for tonight's show. I was like, what's going on in Zimbabwe? What's going on with the goblins there? Now, if you're not familiar with it, there is a cool show that was put out by Greg Newkirk and his wife Dina, and they went down to Kentucky, I think, and it's called Hellier, Hellier, and apparently they were lured down there because there was allegedly reports of goblins going down there, and they end up on this really wild paranormal journey, and it's really cool show. It's several parts, but it's free on YouTube, so you can check it out. But it's called Hellier. And they really did a brilliant job putting it together, and it's quite an interesting journey. I mean, John Tenney actually makes an appearance on the show at the very end. John Tenney's been around in the paranormal circles for pretty much ever. I'm getting a headache. Yeesh. Right in my whole skull. But let's read about the goblins in Zimbabwe. All right. Goblins are a problem of increasing concern in Zimbabwe. In 2012, schoolgirls from St. Sebastian Secondary School in Bulawayo fled screaming after they were allegedly attacked in their classrooms by goblins resembling dwarfs. Maybe they were dwarfs. All right, but anyway, that transformed into baboons. These evil spirits are known to us as okay, how do you pronounce this? If you want to know the struggles of being a host on a show reading stories from around the world, how do you pronounce ZVIKWAMBO? ZVIK, Zvikwambo? I don't know. That's the best I can do, though, so hopefully that's good enough. Zvikwambo in the Shona language, and are believed to be the only visible to those whom they attack. Apparently, a vicious mermaid's frightening workers sent frightened vicious mermaids frightening workers sent to install water pipes on reservoirs have also been identified as Zwikwambo. These goblins have been accused of everything from invading marital beds and demanding sexual favors to attacking nurses and the police. They apparently have no boundaries at all. Even politicians have not escaped association with the little troublemakers. A local businessman named Esau Mupfumi, I'm just doing the best I can here. And I'm not making fun of any cultures, but sometimes cultures have very unique words, and so I'm just doing the best I can. Mupfuno was forced to defend himself against accusation of using goblins to entice people to purchase his goods. Workers at Mupfun's head office discovered a goblin resembling a snake in a bottle full of human blood, and an alleged photo of Mupfun's goblin went viral among Zimbabweans on Facebook and WhatsApp. For his part, Mupfunu has denied everything and claimed the accusations originate from rivals jealous of his land acquisitions. I'm a devoted Christian, and I'm not into goblins. It is said that for every successful deed, there are always people who are determined to bring you down. Well, that's for sure. That goes without saying. Now, this one is pretty interesting. This is the apparently in, I can read the article rather than try to explain it to you. I'll just read it. March 2015, a UK-based alternative arts podcast received some strange photos from a listener in Cornwall. These photos appeared to show a tiny, partially humanoid skeleton, including a skull, ribcage, and spine. The anonymous listener allegedly worked for a bird rescue center, and one of his jobs was inspecting the nest of endangered birds to check breeding numbers and prevent the theft of rare eggs by collectors. During one such routine check in a falcon's nest, he discovered the weird bones hidden among twigs and feathers, and collected them in a sample bag. He assumed them to be the remains of a Cornish pixie. Afraid he'd be ridiculed anywhere else, he sent the photographs to the podcast to get their perspective on the find. Suspiciously, one of the podcast hosts, Dan Baines, was responsible for the 2007 mummified fairy hoax in Ireland. Well, that's a little convenient, but has long since recanted and has stated that while he believes in fairies, he thinks they are spirit entities rather than flesh and blood creatures. As for the Cornwall discovery, he admits to being baffled. I don't know. There is a picture here. It's a little dinky thing, but look up the bones of a pixie, and you'll probably find a reference to it. I don't know. So this one's on Google, or somebody found a picture of what looks like a huge shadow in a wavy pattern in a pond, but I'm not going to read that. Now there's one about the Alabama leprechaun. In 2006, a camera crew from a local television station, WPM, descended on Leckrene Street in UMS Wright in Mobile, Alabama, to investigate crowds massing in the area, and some members of the crowds soon told reporters that people had sighted a leprechaun hiding in a nearby tree. An amateur sketch of the diminutive Irish creature was produced, and this likeness, in combination with colorful interviews with local residents, helped to make the report an early viral video on then new YouTube. Some believe the story was merely a prank played on the residents at the expense of the news crew, and some, including the O'Reilly factor, suggested that the popularity of the video played off racial prejudices. Well, that's maybe true. I don't know. Follow-up investigation by AL.com in March 2015 featured an interview with a man who claimed to have been the first to see the leprechaun, and he described the appearance of the creature as being a metamorphosis, with the mouth or nose appearing first, followed by the rest of the face. Since the infamous report, he has tweeted about sighting the leprechaun several times, reporting 70% visibility on one occasion in 2010. So could there be leprechauns about? Yeah, there could. Are they magical, whimsical creatures? Maybe. Do they have pots of gold? I don't know about that. If they do, they're not sharing it. That's all I know. I'm going to click the Nava. Oh, the Jinn divorce. Okay. Well, there is one about the Naga here. I'm just going to skip that one, though. Naga, I don't know. 2014, a man in the United Arab Emirates was granted the right to divorce his wife after he discovered that she was possessed by a supernatural spirit known as a jinn. This supposed possession apparently manifested itself in the wife's refusal to have sex with him. Oh, my God. She then told him to discuss the matter with her family, who told him that religious scholars have failed several times to exorcise the spirit. Okay, enough of that one. Aswang look like vampires. Are there vampires out there? Okay, one of the many tales of monsters in the Filipino folklore, the one with the strongest influence in the modern world is that of the Aswang, a shape-shifting, blood-drinking creature that preys on humans and animals at night. It has ill-defined features and powers. Some say it can transform into a pig or a dog. Others that it can separate the front half of its body and then fly around, and still others that it has a long tongue to suck unborn babies from their mother's wombs. Oh, that's horrible. Jeez. In 2014, an anonymous text message caused panic, warning everyone in Batangas, don't loiter around at night. A group of Aswang riding a big truck from Capiz Camsur is already in Estio Tomas. Don't trust anyone you don't know. This is not a joke from police in Tanuan. The local police denied any such report and believe the whole story to be a hoax, but believe in the creature has also led to tragedy. In 2014, a 70-year-old woman in Bacolod City was beheaded by her own son when he became convinced that she was an Aswang. Oh, jeez. Hysteria, ladies and gentlemen. The paranormal causes hysteria. Well, enough of this article. I don't know. These are more anecdotal kind of reports. I don't know what to think of them. I don't know. I don't got nothing. Let's take a look at some big feats. All right, so I wanted to talk about a few Bigfoot reports because I like Bigfoot reports. I like covering the Bigfoots. I do a lot of ghost stuff throughout the week, so my next favorite is Bigfoot. Let's see what's going on here. This comes out of Arizona. Two friends and I traveled to the Man, what is it with weird names tonight? I'm not sure how you say this. Huachuca Mountains of Cochise County in Arizona for some hiking and camping. We were limited on where we would go that year due to extensive wildfires. Having been blocked from going up Carr Canyon, we drove further down Miller Canyon when we were able to get off the beaten path a bit to finally sleep. The three of us slept in a dome tent. We pitched it about 20 yards off the dirt road. We didn't see another car up the road where we were that night. Well, I woke in the middle of the night to my friend sitting up in his sleeping bag yelling. The ceiling of our tent was mesh, and we could look through it and see the night sky, and when his yelling awoke me, I asked him what was going on, and he told me that he just saw a Bigfoot. Well, I kind of smiled, but I could see the grave look on his face. I again spoke to him about his experience recently, and he explained his experience this way. Dude, I saw it. I know what I saw, and I still remember it. I was not dreaming. It's just as vivid as when it happened. I looked up through the tent and saw its face looking at me. The moon was bright and behind where it was standing, making it hard to really distinguish facial features, but I could see a perfect silhouette. Its head was really pretty big, and it didn't really have a neck. Its head just seemed to merge with the shoulders. It was big, at least 8 feet. It was standing over the tent like it was leaning forward and looking through the moonroof netting, and I could see what looked like the whites of its eyes. We stared at each other for at least 30 seconds before it was gone. When the Sasquatch moved away, my friend yelled in fright. We didn't attempt to leave the tent or go in pursuit of it, and I have 100% trust in this friend. We joke around quite often, but I can attest that he is not joking with this. I believe his account to be absolutely authentic. I myself have been hiking in the Wasatch Mountains of Utah and had the distinct impression, almost tangible, that I was being observed. The feeling caused me to stop and look around, but I didn't see anything, and the feeling really persisted, so I started to sing while I walked, and I've been alone in the woods before, but this feeling was unique. I was bushwhacking through an aspen grove in Mount Timpanogos at the time, which I am now aware has something of a hotspot for sightings in Utah. And I've since learned that this feeling of being watched is a common phenomena that often precedes sightings. If I had known this then, I would have been more vigilant. Wow. That's crazy. Now, Cochise County apparently comes from the very lower, the lower eastern, it's the lower eastern tip of Arizona. So it's right down there on the bottom. That is really wild. I don't know what I would do if I looked up and saw a huge head looming over my tent looking in at me. I don't know if I could do anything. I mean, honestly, if it is a Bigfoot, there's nothing you can really do anyway. Just kind of wait and see, because physically we have no recourse at all with a Bigfoot. Unless you're carrying a weapon of some kind. And if something's looking at you, I don't know if that's grounds to actually shoot it, but I don't know. I mean, if it's looking at you and growling and showing teeth, then maybe. But if it's just looking, I don't know. The interesting part of that story is that his friend swears he saw the whites of its eyes. Now, in so many reports that I've read of people encountering Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or whatever, they don't appear to have whites of their eyes. So I'm wondering what this person actually saw. That's really pretty curious. I don't know. And some of our Bigfoot experts will have to weigh in on that. Like Duke, do you know they have whites of their eyes, or are their eyes pretty generally black? Oh, you coming up, Anubis? Hi. How you doing, buddy? He's decided he needs some lap time, apparently. So, but very interesting. I think that's a pretty cool report. Yeah, it comes from around the 2013, so it's not a new report by any measure. It's probably, it's actually 2011 that this report was actually created regarding this. But yeah, very, very wild. Wild stuff. All right, so this one's coming from Arkansas. It says, during the tourist season of 2002, exact date is unknown, at about 1 a.m., location about 2 miles south of the Madison County line, the nearest highway or road event occurred on Highway 23, which is part of the Pig Trail National Scenic Byway. There's a National Scenic Byway called Pig Trail. That's pretty crazy. I'm sorry, you can't go sit on the laptop now. Sorry, buddy. You're going to end up screwing up my show. All right, so there's apparently a byway called Pig Trail. So there you go. It's in the Ozark National Forest, or Ozark Mountains. Anyway, let's get to the actual, it's a bunch of, okay, so this is what happened. As the witness approached the next curve in the road, he saw a large, dark-colored, human-like figure standing in the very center of the highway, just inside the start of the curve. At the time, the vehicle was approximately 50 yards from the figure. The driver immediately touched the brakes to slow down, and during that time, the creature was standing facing the vehicle as if frozen by surprise or fear. The witness stated the animal was standing in what appeared to him to be a very awkward position, with its upper body being absolutely straight and the shoulders thrown back, but the knees bent. He said from the waist up, the body was being held like that of a soldier at attention. The animal didn't move until the vehicle reached a point about 30 yards from its position. At that time, while the vehicle's headlights were fully illuminated, the animal, and with what the witness described as unbelievable speed and agility, it wheeled and ran at an angle toward the southwest and toward the inside of the highway curve. At the time, the driver loudly asked his passenger, "Did you see that?" She leaned forward and asked, "See what?" She later indicated she might have seen the animal for a split second as it left the roadway, although the witness was not sure that she had. Although he was sure she was awake, he thought she may have had her eyes closed until he spoke. The driver accelerated the vehicle to try to see the animal as it left the right-of-way in the curve, and when he did, He could see that there was a very deep and high road-cut bank on that side of the right-of-way, and the face of the cut was covered by loose shale and sandstone. He quickly saw the steep bank extended for at least 30 yards. Beyond the point, the animal ran off the roadway and onto the edge of the right-of-way. He immediately looked down the right-of-way to the point where the road cut ended and where the accessible nature slope and the ridge began. Although the animal had left the roadway with total surprising speed, the driver was certain he would see the animal before it could get out of sight in the curve. He did not see the animal, nor did he see any sign of where it might have scaled the nearby vertical road cut. He emphatically stated and believed no creature could have scaled the cut bank or reached the unaltered slope of the ridge in the very few seconds that had elapsed between the time the animal left the road and the time the vehicle reached the inside of the curve. Wow. Very wild. So that's more of a dry report, though. I like the narratives. The narrative ones are always better. Okay, this is more of a historical one, so I don't want to read that. What are we at with the time? I got to check. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Why don't we get back into these? These are more of the glitches in the Matrix. So this one is talking about when reality kind of goes sideways, ladies and gentlemen. And we've done several shows about this stuff recently, about glitches in the Matrix and stuff. But I had some more material that I wanted to get through so I could finally close this. But I'm sure I'm not going to get through it tonight, but I'll read one of them. I took a hard news, soft news type journalism class in college, where one of the assignments was to write an obituary for one of my grandparents. The professor told us to write it on a deceased grandparent, but if all your grandparents were still alive, we had to choose one. In my case, all of my grandparents were alive. I procrastinated the assignment until the night before it was due because it seemed like a dumb assignment. Anubis is just howling. He wants to go outside, but he's not going outside. He's not a nighttime cat outside. He's a daytime outside cat. And he doesn't really agree with my rules. So, scrambling for an easy grandparent to write about, I gave my mom a call and asked her for some basic biographical information about my maternal grandfather, who was still alive. As we were talking about my grandfather's career, my mom couldn't recall the name of one of the companies he worked for. She lectured me about waiting until the last minute to write the assignment because it was late, 10:30 p.m., my grandpa's time. However, she said she would give him a call to see if he was still awake and be able to answer that question once my assignment was due the following morning. When my mom called my grandpa, my grandma answered the phone in panic. My grandma frantically explained that the paramedics had just arrived and were performing CPR on my grandpa because he had stopped breathing and passed out. My mom was able to stay on the phone with my grandma until they took my grandpa to the hospital, where he was declared dead. In the time my mom and I had been talking on the phone about my grandpa's obituary, he was dying, out of the blue at that, and he had been otherwise healthy considering his age. We ended up using the obituary I wrote for that writing assignment as his actual obituary, and it still freaks me out when I think about the timing. Yeah, that's way weird. What are the odds that you would actually choose to write about a relative that was actually dying at that moment? Here's another one. I used to love drawing portraits when I was younger, but wasn't very good at it, so I always threw them away a lot of the time. But one day I drew one that I was really proud of, so I kept it. About a week or so later, I had a new girl start in our class, and I thought she looked super familiar. And a few days into the week, I realized that it was because she was the girl I had drawn. I went home and found the drawing, and sure enough, nearly identical, nearly because I was 10 and unskilled. It freaked me out, and I felt weird about drawing portraits of nobody ever since. So is that a premonition? That's weird. That is very weird. I heard the upstairs neighbors get into another fight at 3 a.m., plates thrown onto the ground, really noisy as it was directly above. I found out the next day that my upstairs neighbors moved out weeks ago and that the flat was vacant and completely empty. There were just 3 flats on the block. First floor elderly couple, us on the second, and then the third floor. Oh, jeez. Oh, residual haunting, party of one. Residual haunting, party of one. That's terrible. You're hearing an argument of the people upstairs, and turns out there's no people upstairs. Oh, that's hilarious. In a creepy way, but hilarious all the same. All right, we're down to about the last break here, ladies and gentlemen. We got 1/2 hour to go here on the portal, so I hope you guys will stick around. There's only a little bit left. Don't leave me now. It's just getting good. All right, guys, don't go away. We'll be right back. ladies and gentlemen, last half hour of our show. It's upon us. It's happened so fast. It always does, though, but, what do you do? That's what they say. Thanks. Yeah, this is Anubis. This is my kitty. If you can see him, he's all black, of course, so it makes it a little hard to see him. But, yep, that's Anubis. He's got this little fluffy angel hair that always ends up in my nostrils somehow. It's magical stuff. It drives me crazy, but I love the little fluffy guy, so it's the price you pay. But anyway, going through more of these weird matrixy things now. For those of you on TFR, of course, you won't know what I'm talking about, but on YouTube, you can see my cat. He's decided to come right alongside the desk here and nuzzle me. So it's lovey. It's adorable, but you're going to have to get down there, fluffy boy. What'd you do to your leg? That doesn't feel right. You okay? Huh. All right. Get down now, okay? All right. Let's get going again. All right. Next one on the list. In college, I delivered pizzas to make money. I had a delivery that should have taken about 20 minutes. When I returned to the store, the manager asked me what had taken so long. I asked him what he meant, and he pointed to the computer showing I'd been gone for an hour and 7 minutes. I don't remember even delivering the pizza, only turning into the store when I was returning. Before anyone suggests aliens, no. He says, my anus was not sore. My anus was not sore, he says. I also don't drink or use drugs. 20 years later, I still have no idea what happened. Doesn't mean you're a probe necessarily. That's not like the only tool they have. I think it's only a tool for special people, maybe. I don't know. That's really twisted and weird, but I don't write these, ladies and gentlemen. I just read them. All right, next, not especially creepy, but it did unnerve me when I was young. When I was little, I used to have a Thomas Tank Engine book with fold-out parts and flaps, and there was this one part which was like a shed, and you could lift a flap to see inside of it. Inside was all the usual gardening and shed paraphernalia, but there was also a black cat sat in there. Here's the glitch, though. I swear, the cat wasn't always there. I used to love that book, but every time I read it, I would get into that page and guess whether the cat would be there or not. Not a clue what that was all about, really, but it creeped me, the young me, out. I don't know. I guess that's a curious thing. I'm not sure what the cat would represent in that situation. A few months before my first car accident, they said first, so you know there's been a few, I dreamt about it happening. Everything from the sounds to the placement and the smell was all the same. Thing is, the girl driving tried to get me to find a different ride because she didn't want to do any extra driving that day. And after the crash, I told her about my dream, and she said she had the same one the night before, and that's why she didn't want to drive. Freaky stuff, huh? Yeah, that is. You both had premonitions. Take a hint, for God's sakes. That's right, Cam. That's right. All right, so this next one is really more silly than creepy, but once when I went with my grandmother to her friend's house, I was on the porch by myself with the grandmother's friend's cat. This is a cat night. Isn't that weird? And the cat looked me right in the eyes and said the word meow. It didn't sound like a cat meowing at all. It sounded very convincingly like a human carefully enunciating the word meow. 2 syllables in their most thoroughly unconvincing cat voice. Like someone intentionally doing a very poor impression of a cat as a joke. But it was perfectly in time with the movement of the cat's mouth. And there was no one else around, so it had to have been the cat saying it. Meow. I don't know. Some cats really sound different. And, I don't know how maybe that cat just had a weird voice. I don't know. Next one. When I was about 15, I was eating some cereal and accidentally dropped my spoon into the kitchen floor. It says into the kitchen floor. I watched the spoon fall. As it hit the floor, it just vanished into thin air. I was shocked. I thought surely my eyes were playing tricks on me. They must have just bounced away and gone out of sight or something. I spent 30 minutes searching the kitchen for that spoon, and I was honestly kind of freaked out. I tried to think of every possible place it could have gone. There weren't that many places it could have ended up, but I never did find it. That is creepy. And again, is it something profound? Hell yeah, that's profound. It's just a spoon that disappeared. That's not the profound part. The profound part is that a spoon just disappeared. You know, and the person seeing it falling, and before it hits the ground, boom, it's gone. It's vanished. It's been deported. That's strange. That's really, really freaky strange. So I was walking my dog on his leash, and there's a little plastic attachment that holds his poop bags. When I dropped the leash on the ground, I heard the plastic hit the ground, but it turns out it ended up back in my hand. Imagine dropping something, hearing it, seeing it drop, and then somehow it's in your hand, all under a couple of seconds. Now, see, there's another one that I wonder if it's a quick merge into a different reality. You know, is that the moment that a shift happened and the person happened to be aware of it because of two very different things going on? And only by virtue of that leash dropping were they aware of that transition. Otherwise, how often do we do that in our lives? How often do we just kind of jump to different realities or different probabilities, or, you know, into a multiverse kind of idea? Are we constantly jumping through multiverse renditions of ourselves and our experience? Is that the result of choice? Is that what happens when you say yes? Then you jump into the yes line and into that myriad of possibilities. And if you say no at any given time, do you jump into the no and that myriad of possibilities, that spider web off of that? And is it actually a physical transition as well as just an emotional one? Because yes and no's are emotional answers there. You know, there's always, it's hard sometimes to say no. And when you do say no, is that a paradigm shift of some kind? Is, if you say yes, is that a paradigm shift that has these other consequences? I don't know. I mean, the person's just walking their dog, right? So, but maybe that was the decision that triggered that transition. Maybe they didn't want to walk their dog, but they decided to push through it anyway and do it. And then is that the transition, that point, the decision that made them jump into a different reality or version of their reality? I don't know. I think there's really something to it, though. I don't think it's so much about the fact that a spoon disappeared into a floor, or they dropped the leash and suddenly it's back in their hand. But I think those are the symptoms of something really profound that happened, but all they noticed was that little weird glitchy effect. But perhaps their whole reality changed, but all they could recognize was the difference of that spoon disappearing or that leash being back in their hand. I don't know, just thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. I realize that some of this stuff just sounds really silly and cosmetic, but what if it's really, really freaking profound? You know, and I'm assuming, of course, that all these are real. I can only assume that because I don't know that they are or aren't. But if they are, then could that be possible? I don't know. Just some foods for thinking. All right, this next one. This is this is late and pretty stupid, but why not? I was once showering, and after about 10 minutes in the shower, I hear something ping and hit the floor. I looked down and saw a penny. I was pretty perplexed, as you can imagine, but figured, whatever, I'll keep it. And as I imagined, it could be good luck. Well, I kept the penny in my wallet for a few years and in a zip side pouch, and never really told anyone because it was kind of pointless to talk a random penny I was superstitious about. So a few years later, while at a music festival, a girl in our tent woke up to a penny in her butt crack. We all laughed it off as having a wild night. However, I remembered the penny I had, and when I looked in the zipper pouch, I was shocked to find it was gone. I told my friends, and they didn't believe me, and I think they threw that penny away too. Wow. See a penny, pick it up. I don't think it meant in the butt crack, though. So, let's see. This one is, not sure if anyone will believe me or not, but screw it. Here it goes. When I was in high school, my friend Phil actually killed himself. Oh. I never really knew the specifics. All I know is that he shot himself at one of the local parks. And fast forward 6 years or so, and I'm asleep in bed next to my ex-wife. I'm having a fairly normal dream, and I was at a store doing something or another, and I can't really remember the specifics of the beginning of the dream. What I do remember is running into Phil in the store. When I saw him, everything got super weird. He actually looked like Phil, not like in most dreams where people will be certain people but not look at all like themselves. He actually looked like Phil. He looked at me and smiled and said, "Hey, man." At the moment, the dream got crystal clear. And I asked him if he was really him, and he said that it was. He told me we were going to hang out for a bit, and after the dream got super lucid, he showed me how to make stuff, and generally we just screwed around doing dream things. Suddenly, I realized that my dream was coming to an end, and I turned to him and asked him if I was about to wake up, and he said yeah, and he said he had fun coming to hang out with me for a bit. I don't know why, but I asked, "So why'd you do it, man? Why'd you kill yourself?" And the way he answered chilled me to my core. Not necessarily what he said, just how he said it. He replied, "My girlfriend cheated on me, man." He said it like it was a question he'd answered before. Like when someone asks you what was your first job, and you've responded with the exact same sentence so many times that it just falls off your tongue effortlessly. Except I had known his girlfriend, and they were the kind of couple that everyone admired. So I said, "Sophie? Sophie cheated on you?" His eyes lit up like he realized he was talking to someone that actually knew him in life, and he said, "Yeah, man, Sophie cheated on me." We gave each other a hug, and he wished me well, and I woke up and felt super strange. It was somewhere around 2 or 3 in the morning. I closed my eyes and thought, "Phil, if that really was you, I need you to give me a sign." No sooner than when that thought finished, my phone started ringing. It came across as an unknown number, and it only rang twice. I knew I wasn't dreaming anymore because my ex-wife woke up and sleepily asked me who was trying to call me so late, and to this day, I think about that story and I get chills. Wow, that's pretty cool. Again, I do believe that, those people that we loved or were special or important to us can come to us. And it's probably the most easy to do in our dream states. I think that is the time that, we have the least resistance to their messages and what they have to say. This one is not long after 9/11 on a Friday. I got up to go to class, and one of those mornings, broke a glass getting something to drink, tripped over something going to my car, was late to class due to a wreck on the way, and on the way there, not me, thankfully. And while at school, we heard about a plane crashing, something about the wings blowing off. Went to work, went home. The next morning, my roommate wakes me up asking if I'm skipping class today. After he convinces me it is still Friday, I get up and go to class. After noticing the glass I broke is not broke. On the way, I pass the same wreck on the same spot. All day, I wait to hear about the plane, but it never happens. Ends up kind of a normal day. That's bizarre. The next one, I was sitting on my porch and had my debit card on the table in front of me. Went inside to get something to drink, patio furniture in sight, and a 6-foot privacy fence all around the yard. I also lived alone and went back outside. It was gone. I searched everywhere, inside and out, but couldn't find it. Nothing was withdrawn from my account. So 2 days later, I canceled it and requested a new one. 2 weeks later, I went out to sit on the porch. I did this every day. And the old card was sitting right there on the table. It just reappeared. There was nothing else on the table. It was just gone, and then it wasn't. Huh. These are the clues, ladies and gentlemen. I'm convinced these are the clues. These are the breadcrumbs showing us what's possible. Or at least giving us ideas about the nature of our reality. A few nights back, I was wide awake in the guest bed at my place and heard quiet footsteps, and then my wife say, "Hey," gently at the door. It seems weird, so I got up to see what she wanted, but she was fast asleep in bed. Dun, dun, dun. Mimics. That's more of a spirit kind of haunting thing, I think. This one was going down the stairs and went past my brother, who was coming up the stairs. Said hi, and he sort of mumbled back. Got downstairs and walked through to the kitchen, only to find him standing right there. What the hell? Uh-oh, doppelganger. That's a doppelganger thing, ladies and gentlemen. I got a call, though. We better get to this call because I think it's the Duke. Uh-oh, I thought I unmuted it. There you are. Are you there, sir?
Howdy, howdy, everybody in paranormal land. It is the Duke.
It is the Duke. How you doing, brother? How's everything in the big Skyland?
It's kind of a little bit chilly and rainy right now, which is good. That keeps the state from burning down for the time being.
Oh, is there a lot of fires going
I just
on?
had, well, generally this time of year,
Yeah.
it's like living in Los Angeles. You're breathing campfire, forest fire smoke instead of smog, but
Yeah,
pretty much the same thing.
sure.
But no, this year we had a nice wet year, and so we didn't have any of those problems. Nothing's burning down. There isn't this beginning of scent of smoke in the air. So,
Wow.
gotta love it.
That is lovely.
But earlier tonight, you were on the subject of the Wendigo.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so I figured I'd call in, and this has nothing to do with the story you would expect me to tell. As a matter of fact, this starts out with me working for a health food warehouse and goes south really bad.
Oh.
And yeah, it's a non-vegan story. Anyway, this was back in the early 1980s. I was living up in Duluth, and I was working for a local place that was sort of a big cooperative health food place.
Uh-huh.
And they were so successful and big that they had their own little fleet of trucks. They had like 3 big semis that would go around like 5 or 6 states and would drop off one thing here and pick up another thing there. And, each truck had its own little pallet skidder on the back of it in case you had to move them around by hand, because times you'd stop and get like maple syrup at Farmer Jones' farm, and it was hard to even get the truck in there. And
Sure.
other times you'd be at like some warehouse in downtown Detroit or some place, so
Sure.
all over the place. So anyway, one of the places that we stopped at was we didn't go there very often, but it was a chocolate factory, and it was one of those places where they actually had forklifts and people working it, so we didn't have to do much of anything except just sit there and wait for them to shuffle a couple pallets around and put on our stuff and then put them back again.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of got there at the wrong time. It was right around lunchtime, so we had to sit and wait for the forklift drivers. And the guy I was working with said, "Yeah, I hope we don't get Jeffrey." And I went, "Who's Jeffrey?" And he goes, "Oh, he's this one forklift driver that works here that's like really weird. Nobody likes him. And I guess he goes and eats lunch by himself. So if we get stuck with him, we'll have to wait until he gets back again." And as it turned out, yes, we did get stuck with him, and we had to wait until he came back again. And he did put off that creepy dude aura.
Uh-huh.
And he's very quiet, didn't talk to anybody, just jumped on his forklift and moved stuff around. And we were ready to go and took off again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was about 6 months later when the whole news broke about Jeffrey Dahmer, who was eating people.
Oh,
And that was Jeffrey, the forklift driver.
same guy?
Same guy, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, no, really? Oh, no.
Yeah, really. So there's the tie-in with the Wendigo psychosis. And again, this is over in that same area of the country where Ed Gein, I bet you've heard of Ed Gein,
Oh,
right?
God. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Wisconsin. Yeah, there's another example. What's going on? Is there something in the water over there or something? But
I don't know. That.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, this guy definitely put off the vibe that there was something wrong with him. The other guys that worked with him didn't like to work with him. He put out this really creepy vibe to everyone. He would eat lunch by himself. Well, we know why now. But so, yeah, that was a little bit spectacularly creepy finding out like 6 months later. Oh, by the way, that guy that was loading the truck 6 months ago, yeah, he eats people. What?
Oh, God.
So.
That's so horrible.
There's your disturbing Wendigo psychosis story for the night.
Wow. Oh no, that's so weird. Wow. It's interesting that everybody got that vibe from him though. It is really interesting, like because you hear about some of these serial killers, like Ted Bundy and all them. That many of them are very charismatic and people like them. They really. We're kind of enamored by them, and they're socially adept and stuff. But he wasn't a cannibal either, though. But maybe
Right.
maybe that's true. Maybe it was like.
And the other thing is Jeffrey just looked like an ordinary 30-something, should probably be a blue-collar worker guy.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
seemed like a little bit out of place, even being a forklift driver.
Hmm.
Kind of like the last one you would think would actually be dangerous in any capacity out of everybody that was working there.
Right.
But he was the one that creeped out everybody.
Yeah, it looks like he looked like the kind of guy that should be like rearranging books in a library or something. I mean, he just came across.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that was the way he looked, but the vibe he gave off was completely different.
Oh.
So yeah, that was it's one thing when you bump into somebody famous and it's like, oh hey, a musician, or you know, somebody that was in this movie, cool, you know. But when you like bump into somebody famous, you find out, oh yeah, that guy was a killer cannibal. What?
Oh man,
that's not the best thing.
Yeah, and you know, you got to wonder what he was eating. You know, was he actually packing lunches of people? You know?
Well, judging by the contents of his refrigerator, that would probably be a strong contender for what he was sitting there eating by himself and didn't want people watching him eating.
Well, yeah, I think the only thing they found in his refrigerator other than body parts was condiments like ketchup. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
That was the only food items he ever had in there. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Eesh.
And that's the other thing. I don't think they ever had any direct evidence that Ed Gein was actually a cannibal. He was more of a ghoul. He was digging up bodies and making weird things with them, like lampshades and stuff.
But the thing about Ed Gein that was curious, though, is that I don't know if this is actually a true story, but I heard this, that he used to bring venison into the local market, and everybody always remarked about how amazing his venison was.
Well, that doesn't mean he was eating it.
No, he was just preparing.
He just wanted the skin for lampshades. He needed to reupholster the couch and didn't want the meat.
Now, how would you deal with that, though? How about if you were waiting for new shipments of Ed's venison to come in, and you were just happier than hell, whipping up like Hamburger Helper with his venison and stuff, and then you find out.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine how the locals felt after they found out about the guy?
What I'm saying.
After like eating Ed's venison for years, they're probably barfing for years straight after that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh dear God, there's some kind of darkness that just gets in these people's souls. I don't understand it, but I guess it's a good thing I don't. You know, if it starts making sense.
Well, there's a lunatic currently in the news right now over in Sweden. Magnus Soderberg, who is advocating for, we should eat people when they die instead of just, throwing their corpses in the ground. We should soil and green them. So there's actually people that are that far down the slope into completely idiotic, drooling madness that they're willing to advocate for cannibalism at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I could ever get that hungry that would become an option. I don't know. I remember, hearing the stories of those people that were in that plane crash and up on that mountain, and that is how they survived. They actually survived on the, the bodies of the people that didn't make it through that plane crash. But, I don't know. I don't know how you move past that.
Then you got
emotionally.
Earlier version of that one was the Alfie Packer here, where they had the whole group that got stranded in the mountains wagon train era.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was the only one that ended up making it out. And his contention that most of them died, and then he ended up eating a couple of them to give him enough strength to hike out through the snow when he was the last survivor. But when they went up and examined the scene, it looked to them like he had actually killed everybody and eaten them. And he ended up doing some prison time. There's a macabrely named restaurant in Colorado called Alfie Packer's.
Oh, no, really? No, that's not even.
I'm serious.
That's not good marketing. That's not good marketing, Duke.
No kidding. It's like Ed Gein's Venison Mart. Yeah, we named it after Ed. Probably not going to fly very well, but apparently it was there for a long. Might still be there. I don't know.
Comes with a free.
I'll let you go. Get back to your stories. I want to hear at least another one before you run out of time.
All right, brother. Well, thanks for calling in. It's always a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Duke of World Bigfoot Radio calling in now, and definitely go over and check out his channel, World Bigfoot Radio on YouTube, and you can hear all his episodes. One of the latest ones has myself, and that's one of my
the very latest one, in fact, has Brent on it, and one of my team members. And upcoming episodes will have the rest of the expedition on it, and we're looking at another one actually coming up here this coming weekend. which I don't know if you could make it or not. You're invited.
Yeah, I don't.
But it's mostly the local boys and possibly Matt Squatch from the Matt Squatch channel on YouTube. To be here for this one.
Okay. Well, I don't think I'll be able to make it, but definitely keep me posted.
All righty. Well, I'll see you back in chat in a minute. Thanks, Brent. Thanks
right.
for everybody for putting up with me and my gruesome tales of cannibalism and Wendigo psychosis. We'll talk y'all later.
All right. We'll see you, Duke. Thanks for calling.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right. Very cool. That's very disturbing. So the Duke worked with Jeffrey. Woof. I guess that's it for the show, ladies and gentlemen. Stick around for Paisley Wild coming up in just a minute here. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Love you guys. See you tomorrow with Don. Don will be joining me. We'll talk to you then. Good night, everybody.